Alright, this is a video, kind of a video reference, so that when I do this again, if I do it again, it's kind of to show me what I did and how well it worked, if it works. So my plan, when I glue these two halves together, I'm going to use super glue, the gel, and the water chamber will be from this point all the way around and to back again. So basically the water will be in the lower part, or the handle, leaving the upper part here for electronics, that for the LEDs that I'm going to be adding. So I need to keep that upper portion dry, and I don't want any of the water coming from the lower area here up through into this portion, or I don't want it really leaking out through the part where the trigger goes through. So basically my plan is to take super glue, the gel, and run a bead from here down into this little crevice right here, and then around the trim, around the edge here, all the way around, and then back. So this lower portion will have the gel. I'm going to do the same thing here in roughly the same location, so when the two halves come together, the gel will meet and hopefully increase the probability that it won't leak. I may also run a tiny bead up through here on one side just to seal, or to close off, or to glue this upper portion to the other, but I really want this lower area to be very watertight. I don't want any water leaking from here. To fill this area, I'm going to be adding a plug right here on the side of the handle, so that I pull the plug like a regular squirt gun, pull the plug, add the water, and then put the plug back. So I'm going to be doing that after I glue it together. I'm going to run the hole, poke the hole. Since I didn't plan for this during the print, I didn't actually include an area where a hole will be. So basically that will be added to the future print. So, and also in order so that to increase the probability that it will seal well, I'm going to be putting a daub of baking soda in this area, probably maybe a teaspoonful of baking soda. So when I close these up and clamp it together, I'm going to roll this prop around, you know, like what do they call it, slush molding or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and roll the baking soda around on the inside of this chamber, and any of the glue that oozed out, or may have actually oozed out on the inside there, it'll catch some of the baking soda and hopefully again will seal up the inside. Anything that super glue that comes out here doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm just going to clean that and sand it, but no baking soda or anything out here at this time. Maybe later after it's dry. But on the inside, I'm going to pour a little mountain of baking soda there. I'm going to lay this in place right there, and then hopefully when the two halves come together and glue and dry, we will have a seal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now and come back here shortly. Okay, I went ahead and run the bead of super glue as I spoke about earlier. It's around the edges of the water chamber, a little bit around the upper portion there. I have my little mound of baking soda on the inside there. In order to get rid of the excess, I'm going to have to drill a hole here and basically hopefully put water in there, shake it out, and clean out any of the baking soda that is still remaining, because not all of that will stay stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in place. I've already ran the super glue, so we're going to put that right there. And I'm going to pause the camera and close this up and see what happens. Okay, just a few minutes ago I showed how I was going to proceed on gluing the two halves together. So I ran the bead of super glue around the inside edge of both halves. This is going to be the water chamber. This is going to have to be watertight, and I don't want any water going up into the upper portion here. So basically I ran the bead so that it would actually seal there as well. I need this portion to be watertight because I don't want any water leaking through here, out here, or even out where the trigger is. So the reason is because when I add the upper top portion here, this will actually be mounted right there. This is the upper top portion. It will actually, instead of being glued, I'm deciding whether or not I just want to run a couple of mounting screws here up into the upper chamber there, and the same here up into the upper portion there, because it doesn't have to hold any weight at all. It just has to, you know, hide the tubing. It's got to hold the nozzle, and it's got to hold the back area here that will most likely be a battery compartment kind of thing. Also the electronics for the LEDs, and this is going to have a switch, so when this is pushed in to squirt, it will make contact with a switch here, either magnetic reed switch or something to that effect. I'm still working the details, and that way the power can then be fed to the upper portion here and turn on the LEDs. So anyway, that's the part that I'm still working on. Also, in order to get the powder and the water in there, and the powder out that is in there, the baking soda that I put in there, I'm going to drill a hole right here centered and put this little plug. This is the little water plug that came with the squirt gun in the first place, so I'm hoping that will at least do its job as it was intended, and that will be placed in there, so it will be hidden by who's ever holding the squirt gun and still allow for water to be put into the lower portion there. So anyway, so that's it so far. The glue should be dry by now, so I'm going to go ahead and before I take the rubber bands off, I'm going to drill the hole to the proper size, clean that out. Hopefully no pieces of plastic will get stuck in there, so I'll have to do it real slow and keep pulling out any of the shards or whatever that come out of there, the plastic pieces, and make sure none of it really gets stuck in there. So that's it. Okay, I'm back. So you can see the rubber bands have been removed. The plug is currently in place. That's the plug to keep the water from draining out. And this now has water in it. It basically is filled to the top right here, as you saw in the earlier videos. So I put water in there, drained it out, cleaned out all the excess baking soda that was left in there, added the water, put the plug, and it is currently full all the way to the plug here with the water, and the plug works great. When you hold the pistol like this, you don't really even see it. It's hidden by the palm, and of course this the pistol will be black, and this will then be mounted up in here like that, and we will have the tube will extend beyond here into the nozzle portion here, and then we'll have the back here for maybe the battery replacement for the LEDs that will be in front. If you look there, that's been capped off right there. I'll probably end up reprinting it with the proper holes for the LEDs. So anyway, it's getting closer, and I'll probably end up putting a screw here, you know, up in there to hold that part on, and the same here, a single screw that goes up and holds that on, so that this portion can actually be removed for any kind of maintenance or whatever that might be required. And as I said earlier, there is water in here and no leakage at all. It worked the first time, so apparently the super glue and baking soda work great. So all I have to do is come in here and, you know, sand this to hide the seams, and a little bit of maybe filler, and then black paint. Even if I print this in black PLA, it'll probably end up still having to be cleaned up and sanded and made really nice. I kind of want a nice looking finish on here, and basically it works. I've already tested it, works great. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot a quick video of it working, and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm currently out in my little test area here, and you can probably hear that it is raining, but in this particular case it doesn't really matter. This is the working squirt gun handle for the Logan's Run Deep Sleep Sandman blaster. Currently there is water in here, and this is the fill hole. We filled it up to the top part here. So it's basically the handle is got the water in it, There's no leakage at all. I'm looking it over here. Nothing, no drips or leaks or anything at this point. But if there is, I could probably heat the outside of the seam with a soldering iron and seal it. But for right now, it is a squirt gun, so you probably would expect some leakage. It's not. Most squirt guns probably aren't really watertight. So anyway, we're going to give it a try here and see what happens. So let's start pumping. Boom, there it is. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. So basically that's the Logan's Run blaster right there. And it goes pretty far. I'm way back here, and it actually has a pretty good range on it. Okay, so there we are. Okay, so I think that's about it right there. So it's a fun little toy, and once it's all finished and painted black, I'm going to go ahead, probably print it in black PLA, but it will be painted because I do want to clean up the sides and the edges and things like that. But so far it works good. This is of course just a test to see how PLA will take dampness, water, because it of course gets wet when you fill it and use it. But with a little bit of sealer or paint on there, it should be fine. Okay, so there we are. So far, so good. Works first time. Thank you for watching.